Welcome to Modern Mystic Messages. I'm Teresa. Thank you so much for stopping by and clicking on the video. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back, soul family. In any event, I'm so happy that you're here. Happy Sunday if you're seeing this on the evening that I'm uploading it, and happy 1st of June, yay. And also, I want to give a big virtual hug and thank you to all the new subscribers to the channel. We are growing here a little bit every day, so thank you for that. And a very special shout out to Mr. William. I actually received a very generous contribution to the channel from him, and I actually have another, like I actually need another deck of cards, but I couldn't resist. So thank you, William, and hopefully we'll be receiving those cards and I'll get a chance to incorporate them into a reading here very shortly. Family, today I've been in my head about several things, kind of figuring, I'm feeling better. I will have to say, I am feeling some relief from the energies of the past few days. I'm still weepy, but it's not anything bad. Like I say, I'm literally, when I go scrolling, like doom scrolling in the reels, I got to stop because I'm crying at stuff like ballet videos and puppies and like it's crazy. Like I said, I'm just really emotionally sensitive right now, but I'm not, I'm not gonna be so super upset. But one of the things that we're gonna look at today, because I was thinking about, okay, am I going to do a Sunday message? Am I also going to do a reading? But a specific oracle card kept coming like right in my mind. I was thinking about some of the dialogue that's been happening in the comment section about like this whole thing with Yahweh and God. And I had made a comment about turning off the worship gene. So I was continuing to think a little more about that. And then there's one of the, I think it's it's one of the Christ consciousness cards, Holy Anger, came to mind because I was thinking about deactivating the worship gene. But then that card, Holy Anger, started coming to mind, and I was thinking about what Yeshua said about braiding another whip. So as I went looking for that card, a few other cards got my attention in that deck. So we're going to take a look at them in a little bit. But one of the things that I wanted to further, kind of flow with you all, if you will, about the idea of turning off the worship gene, it's not an instant process. Oh, I wish that it were. Well, it may be for some. If you got it like that, yay, you. It was not like that for me. I had a hard time with. Let's be real. Guilt is typically what makes it difficult to completely shut it down because as you're starting to learn these things, and even before I started learning who Yahweh really was and the true nature of Yahweh, even when I was just kind of angry with religion per se, I thought it was because of the church hierarchy and that they just got it wrong. But oh, I was so in love with Jehovah because I thought I was taught from a child that Jehovah is the big ultimate almighty, the Alpha and Omega. Like I said, big sky daddy. That's the religion I grew up in believing or being taught to believe in him as that. And yet there was such a discrepancy between what I've read in the book and felt in my heart that a loving God was supposed to be, in contrast to what I'm reading. They're saying that God is co-signing over, in the book. And so I was thinking that maybe man just got it wrong. I didn't understand it. No, that really is the nature of Yahweh. Always has been, always will be through each and every iteration. But as masterfully as he's laid it down, because again, if you go back and look at it, and I'll see if I can locate it. I think it was a Myth Vision podcast that traced like the history of Yahweh through as many far back as they could find through however many pantheons, different names that he's had, and the people, and how, basically it tracked from the beginning of the Enlil days to how he got all the way up to become Jehovah with the Jews, or Yahweh. But it's through all of those times, there have been several times throughout the Anunnaki wars and the ancient histories and all that, that he has been a nomadic god, if you will, without a land and without a people. Probably because he treat people so crappy. If you had the choice of all these other Anunnaki deities, quote unquote, that you could serve, why would you automatically go to the hateful, vengeful, bloodthirsty one, the one that don't have a problem with raping women and don't have no problem with unaliving whole nations of people if they make him mad? And I think it was the Babylonian epic, he wanted to unalive everybody just because they made too much noise in carrying out the slave work that they was doing for him. But they was making too much noise, so they gotta go. No patience, no love at all for humanity. Why would anybody choose to serve him? Oh, so in order to fix that, the next time he decided to roll out with this history, he put a failsafe in with this boogeyman story. By turning his title of Satan into this imaginary devil pitchfork thing outside of himself. Yahweh is good. Is Satan this bad? So he's turned the issue within the Christian telling of the story, when they started pulling together all these stories, by them creating Satan as a separate entity from Yahweh, instead of telling the truth that Satan was just one of his titles when he first got here on the planet. They can paint this image that the entire thing that we're doing, the whole purpose of all of this, is to prove God's sovereignty against Yahweh. They got this God is playing a schizophrenic game with humanity. So it's very difficult to turn off the worship gene because you don't want to disappoint God, because they done told you that the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. And then the Christians are really cool. They've got this little catchword that's been trending for, at least the last 40 or 50 years about this false light. Everything that has been coming onto the planet since the mid 1800s to help humanity wake up and help humanity see the truth and help start debunking the lie of Christianity, everything that rolls out, the church slaps it as evil, calls it heretical, and throws that hashtag false light on it. And Christians won't even listen to it. It's like, and they literally are la 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 la, I can't hear you. It's like they are afraid that if they look at anything or hear anything outside of the approved information that's handed to them by the church, like a mama feeding baby birds, that's evil. They're going to be somehow hypnotized to where they can no longer understand or ascertain truth from the lie. Meanwhile, they've been waterboarded with the lie so long till they really can't hear the truth from the lie. Because when you try to tell them the truth, it scares them. Because there's no reality where they can conceive that Yahweh isn't the top dog and that they're not supposed to grovel and literally get on their knees and just throw themselves and all a good portion of their money on the altar of Yahweh and hope and pray that they're being penitent enough and righteous enough that maybe they can squeak into heaven. They're supposed to suffer here as some kind of a badge of honor, because that's another thing that's laced into there. They're told you're going to be persecuted because of my name, not because you're following a God that really got you doing some really backdoor wicked stuff. You're shooting each other, you're killing each other, you're raping each other, you're robbing each other, you're not looking out for your fellow man, and you're doing all of that and put in God we trust right up on, slap that on it. And meanwhile, being as hypocritical as you want to be, and then when you get persecuted for it, then Yahweh done told you, oh, that's a good thing. That's a proof that you're doing the right thing and you on the heaven train. How do you break people from that? And that's one of the things that had me really starting to realize that's part of why I was saying, having so much melancholy, excuse me, as being a black sheep, you can't even go back and talk to your friends and family. At first, you'd be like, I know they ain't gonna want to hear this. They don't, but truthfully, they really don't. I took time the other week and made a playlist of videos that I've done here on the channel that I thought might help my sister understand and see some of the things that I was talking about after I spoke with her last week. And I sent her about 12, 13 videos. I made a playlist and sent her a link to the playlist. I have no doubt in my mind that she may or may not watch one or two of them some point, but probably not. Probably not. Because I understand the level of psychological indoctrination that happens within that organization that they belong to. Like I said, when Crisis of Conscience came out, when I was probably about 15, 16, 17 years old, maybe, I think when the book Crisis of Conscience came out, and that was written by Raymond Franz, if we have any witnesses here, PMO, DF, or otherwise, listening to this. That was written by the brother of the president of the society, and he had been heavily involved with the JWs his entire life, served at Bethel, did all of that, was on the writing committee and everything else. But in doing the research that was necessary to write those articles, he began to discover discrepancies that he was super concerned about. And when he took his concerns to the brothers of the governing body, rather than them adjust the falsehoods that they were teaching, they painted that man a devil, disfellowshipped him, and went on a smear campaign within that organization. They labeled him as an apostate I was literally afraid to read that book. Even when it fell in, like I said, when it came back around and it was in audio format, it's right on YouTube in 2020. By then, I'm 50 years old and still afraid or nervous. At that point, I wasn't deathly afraid, but like I said, nervous about, I don't know what I thought I was going to hear. But by the time I got to chapter 3, I was crying because he's telling people right then what his concerns were, and they were real. It lines right up with everything I'm learning. Even more so, because honestly, I don't even understand. I don't know whether he understood at that point in time when he wrote that book. I don't even know if he understood that Yahweh and Satan, or Jehovah and Satan, is the same person. But he was just talking about other discrepancies that he was discovering based on the texts and things that they were discovering in all these archaeological digs. Like I said, these people been digging up stuff for the past 200-300 years. So truthfully, more than that, because like I said, the Bible as we know it, that religion was culled and put together from sacred texts that they had back then, the knowledge that they had back in 300 AD. But the Bible that we're presented with now didn't really go into full-fledged print until 500 years ago. But even since then, the more sophisticated tools and things that they've gotten, they done dug up a whole lot of stuff. There's so much knowledge on this planet, and Christianity does its level best to keep its foot or its thumb right on all of it, so that people that follow truthfully any it, because the Abrahamic religions, they're not going to look much further than the Torah. The Muslims ain't going to look no further than the Quran, and Christians ain't going to look no further than the Bible. So by making these people so dependent on this centralized God and this one centralized book, they keep the whole world blinded. You can't really tell them much. And when you think about being indoctrinated that way from birth, even once we read this stuff, you've gotten bold enough and open minded enough to start going out on this path to seek. So you run across this information and read it. But that programming is still in the back of your head. So you can read all day that Satan and Yahweh is the same, and you know you ain't supposed to worship him, but you're so pre predisposed or literally programmed. We are genetically programmed to worship. So when you get the notion that you're not supposed to worship Yahweh, automatically your psyche is reaching for, what else am I going to worship? We start wanting to find the divine feminine to worship or look for another religion, because that was the first thing when I left the Jehovah Witnesses. I just figured maybe they didn't have all, and I was cool with most of their stuff. A few things I had issue with. The whole disfellowshipping thing is so psychologically damaging to people. It's ridiculous. There's so many people that leave that organization and their families fall apart. Some of them unalive themselves. There is a very, very high rate of people unaliving themselves when they get separated from their family due to moral and or religious differences. But they don't, that they're completely self-satisfied and justified with that. That's on them. If they don't want to serve Jehovah, then they're dead anyway, so they might as well go ahead and do it. That's their attitude, like genuinely. And it's super sad that anyone could put themselves in that kind of position, but that's neither here nor there. When you're faced with that notion of deactivating that worship gene, when you consider all of those things and what people are coming through, and like I said, if you be honest with yourself, what you're coming through as well, you have to just be a little kinder and more patient with yourself. And when you catch yourself with that reaching for something to worship, just remember Yeshua, because he was not mild mannered. And he was not telling nobody to worship Yahweh. Like I said, he was a badass, sitting down and beating the money changers out of the temple, like for real. And the things that he came back into town preaching and teaching was so in your face as far as the Jews were concerned. They immediately wanted him done away with. They didn't unalive him because he was such a nice guy. He was a warrior of light, standing boldly on business and refusing to back down and telling them to straight up, like I said, giving it to him straight, no chaser. Well, a little bit of chaser because he spoke in a lot of illustrations and allegories and things like that they couldn't understand. But I think that comes with the territory of being a mystic. A lot of people like to talk in illustrations or analogies. But yeah, and then like I said, I got to these cards. Let me get in here and look because I don't want to stay on that for too long. But this oh, before I do that, I when I started looking through those cards, I also wound up looking through the Metatron cards, and I kind of want to look at those first because I want to finish up with this holy anger and the Yeshua cards. But when we were the idea of the conquering light, or actually conquering fear, that's the card. I want to say the other card is warrior of light. But this conquering fear card kind of jumped out at me because there is a fear element in it. What if I'm not right? What if I get it wrong? Or even when you're trying to let your family know, I want to talk to them, I want to tell them about this or that, the things I'm learning, but I know they don't want to hear it, and just kind of being afraid and holding back from that. What about that? But there comes a point in time where you just gotta You got to stand up to it because it's what we're being called to do. Now, let me go because I'm trying to think. With conquering fear, I jotted down a note whether we understand the absoluteness of all this or not, we have infallible proof that we're not alone. So even if we don't have all the answers, we know there's something going on here and we know we're not alone. Now, this card says fear makes you feel small, fragile, threatened, and unable to take the next steps. You may also feel isolated, and yet you're not alone. Many angels surround you, wishing to help. So often, though, you forget to call on them, and then when you do ask, you doubt that they've heard, and so you ask again and again, weakening your own faith that they're actually there. Yet angels have been around you since you were first born. They heralded your arrival, have celebrated your successes, and tried to pick you up when you have failed or been hurt or needed their care and love. They remind you that you already accomplished and conquered many things and have always survived and grown stronger. This new fear around you has now arisen out of your own shadow. It is the side of you that mistakenly thinks it keeps you safe by staying exactly where you are, never trying anything new and always maintaining the status quo. It is, however, an illusion. These feelings and negative voices in your head that say, I can't or I won't, are just an energetic block that can be broken through by proclaiming, I can and I will. That which seems so difficult now needs to be taken a step at a time, broken down into achievable chunks, and made comfortable to you so you can cross each stepping stone with growing confidence and trust. Metatron sends his angelic helpers. They will stay with you day and night, urging you on, taking each step with you, yet not doing it for you, since you need to instigate each one yourself. They are here because you have called out for help, and so they respond as they always do. Feel their presence around you now. Let them help you breathe into your fear and allow it to dissolve into light. See the safety net they've placed underneath you, and you will not be allowed to fall. But long before you even would have fallen to the net, you would have found that you can fly. Feeling the safety of blue light around you and the care of your angelic helpers, know that you can do what is asked of you now. It may be a new job, a new life stage, leaving the family, leaving the safety of home, learning something new, or traveling somewhere different. All fears are understood and can be healed. No fear is too small or too great to bring up now for healing. Ask what it is that you're truly frightened of, and some of you will hear my own shadow as the response. Make peace with the parts of you that have been programmed to feel fear. Some fear is instinctive, and some is learned from social and family patterns. Some may also have come in the form of past life experience, but no fear is incapable of being healed with angelic support and light. Now is the moment for you to face your own fear, as it actually see it as actually smaller than you thought it was. Take action, create positive energy around it, and take that first step away from it. Doing so will give you a sense of achievement and pride. Congratulations and a pat on the back await you. Do it today. You'll feel better for doing so. So, yeah. And then, let me see, the other card out of that deck that I wanted to look at was, I think we can, oh, okay. I don't need to necessarily read all of this. I think it was just part of it. But Cosmos mirrors you. What you feel as random, chaotic, and disjointed in your world is a result of your scattered thoughts, words, and feelings that you have sent out into the greater universe, either consciously or unconsciously. No one sets out to ask for problems or difficulty, and yet what we think, speak, and project is so powerful right now. You are reminded today of how powerful your words are. The sacred geometric shape of the dodecahedron, perfectly balanced in proportion, symbolizes the need for reasoned, wise, and well intentioned words and thoughts that are also focused. And then, oh, I know why I wanted to read this because it mentioned the programming. Think carefully about the programming that is inside you. Does it serve you well today, or is it full of past disappointments or hurts, creating an expectation of a repeat performance? Changing scripts within you, starting to become conscious through affirmations and positivity, and surrounding yourself with high vibrations are important to you right now. The universe wants to support you and bring to you what you wish, but it does so based on the quality of your vibration or stance. If you ask for abundance but don't really expect it, the lower vibration will cancel out any attempt at positivity. And this kind of brought me back to that whole revolution not being televised thing, because it comes out of what we believe is what we're going to create. What the world around us at large believes is what they're creating. There's a mass consciousness effect that is genuinely writing the script as we go. We can change it. Let your thoughts, wait a minute. Yeah, Archangel Metatron asks you to put behind your old ways, family patterns, and previous thoughts and doubts, and concentrate on what you wish to sound out anew to the wider cosmos. Let your thoughts and words be loving, positive, and thankful, and great gifts and blessings can follow. The universe mirrors what you say to it and expect of it. Everything in the universe was created from light, and therefore this card links into the great light of the Creator. This light that is all around you wishes to be condensed into something positive and affirming now. The Creator said, "Let there be light," and the darkness faded. So too can you use your own light to dissolve what is heavy around you. Pay attention now to your throat chakra, which is linked to the dodecahedron, and the impeccability of the words that flow from it, and also to whether that which you hear is positive or destructive. What's that? Life and death are in the power of the tongue. By your words you'll be vindicated, by your words you'll be condemned. Metatron will muffle out what is unimportant and people whose opinions are out of line with your own vibration, and draw to you instead new frequencies of sound, color, and light that can brighten your world, your perspective, and all you see. Yeah. And then we have silver, because we are warriors of light. You're being asked to be one of Archangel Metatron's warriors of light. To do so will require strength, dedication, compassion, and to always deal in the truth. These are the noble qualities that one who serves the light must master in life on the spiritual path before them. Our world has seen thousands of years of bloodshed where warriors battled against each other, fighting over land, religious faith, and what they deemed right. Now, as spiritual warriors, we fight as one. No denominations apply other than the signature of the human race working for the light. Those who are given their silver sword of truth know that we are all one. It will never be used to harm another, but to wield off and warn the dark that the light is here. It is given to you now to protect and clear the path. It is bestowed on those who have fought battles with their own darkness and have found the light within themselves once more. You have a steady hand and a wise soul, and the light burns bright within you. The sword cuts through all illusion, falsehood, deceit, and denial, and all that is negative, heavy, or tainted by wrongdoing. It highlights those who seek to harm or defame you, and only has power when held by the one it is made for. You have its power now in your own hand. Use it wisely. The silver blade must never be used to harm, but instead must act to defend all that is good, honest, and pure. Hence, it also stands for justice and a balancing of karma, for anyone or any situation that seeks its energy. The silver full moon often signals a time of completion and a cycle ending and a new one beginning. At such times, invoke the silver ray to purify the past and clear the way for a bright new future illuminated by silver's truth and clear direction. You are protected by Archangel Metatron's silver ray at all times. No harm can befall anyone who asks for his light to be within and around them. One who holds the silver sword is never alone, need never fear the dark, and is always safe. Fear that energy now, feel that energy now, excuse me, and allow it to make a difference each day forward as you walk the path of the light warrior you truly are. So, yeah. And then, like I said, the cards that I initially heard were from, or the one that spoke to me was from the Christ Consciousness deck. And but before I get to that one, there's a couple cards I want to look at with the first one was Yeshua or Jesus. Follow my lead. Come, and I will make you fishers of men, was Jesus' first call to his disciples. He calls again to us, this time knowing we understand more than we originally did 2,000 years ago, and that to be invited to hold his presence and embody his teachings is a lifeline that changes the game for all who answer it. This may not be the first lifetime that you have walked with him. You may have had an incarnation as an Essene or another age where you may have been persecuted or been the persecutor for aligning to what man created wrongly in Jesus' name, be it war, crusades, material wealth and institutions, or other aspects. None of this was his desire or wish and was a distortion of all he stood for. His message was simply to love one another as I have loved you. And now, via the living flame of Christ consciousness, you receive another opportunity in time to pick up the mantle and follow his heart-led example, healing all that has gone before. Coming to his energy now with fresh perspectives, you are not asked, however, to blindly follow and not to question, debate, or bring your own experience and learning to the table too. Jesus sees in you, as he saw in the first disciples, Peter and Andrew, all your divine potential and the impact you can make on this world. Not to push your views onto anyone or to use belief as a mask, but rather to take up the challenge of what it is to walk through life demonstrating all he taught for your soul's evolution and growth. If Mother Mary is the safe harbor to which you can return, Jesus is the boat and sail that drives you on. In his set template is all the fuel you require for the journey ahead. In times of smooth sailing and more thunderous days, his light can steer, support, and guide you on. Never mocking, scolding, harsh, or unavailable, his energy is always there day and night to walk beside you. Yeshua is soft, compassionate, gentle, and wise, and offers unconditional love, something we rarely experience in its fullest expression. It can reduce us to tears as it fills our heart with warmth to all. He asks that you try to live by the standards he set, to bring down the Christ light to all who need it, by simply embodying it and shining your light. He understands your human frailty, the flaws that make us all imperfect, but loves you all the same, knowing you are doing the best you can and seeing everything that has happened and the factors that make up the sum parts of your existence. Your light and truth are not to be hidden in dusty old buildings, but out there on the street, in the shop corner, within families and relationships, and at your workplace. To be a living testimony to love, to help heal, illuminate, speak, and express it, because you are it, and in his name you truly remember that. Be confident. You are a beloved child of God, a spark of creation, a unique presence that this world needs to make it whole. He asks that you never deny your greatness, your own divinity, or all that you came here to be. Instead, to set the benchmark for others to follow via your inner peace, radiance, stillness, tolerance, non judgment, and more. Come take his hand and invite his spirit into your heart. Here his energy dwells, sending your own Christ light, seeding your own Christ light, not looking outside oneself to find it, but bringing it home. Wow. And then I think, why was it? There was something in here, but I didn't. Let me see. 32. This talks about the Christ within and the open door. I think the main point is here was that this is not it's a non-denominational thing. It's not tied to a particular organization or church or institution, or truthfully any particular belief system. I realized that a few years ago. One of the issues that I had with the Abrahamic traditions is because they point so narrowly to the worship of Yahweh. But it dawned on me one day, and that to me, something shifted in me when I realized that if people were to stop looking for God and start looking for Yeshua, they'll find it in every tradition on this planet. You'll find Christ consciousness within every spiritual tradition on this planet. It's just pushed to the back in the Abrahamic religions because they bring God, Yahweh, to the forefront. Yeah, they mention that Yeshua is there. You can pray through him. But even in that, they take his name out of it completely with that whole in Jesus' name. That still turns right back and flips it back to Yahweh. That means hail Zeus. Zeus, Yahweh was Zeus in one of the pantheons. That they tell you you're worshiping Yeshua, but everything about Christianity is absolutely anti Yeshua. Those are the people that unalived him for teaching that more compassionate way. And after they unalived him, they turned around and knit him into the religion that praises the same people that wanted him gone in the first place. So we don't have to be tied into an institution to have Christ within. In fact, it's almost impossible to truly have Christ within and still be tied to those religions. Now, I know folks that still want to cling to Christianity, Islam, and Judaism will hear me say that and be highly offended, but that is the absolute truth. It is almost impossible. You can call yourself Christian all you want to, but it is impossible to truly have for real, Christ consciousness alive and active within you and be an active participant or worshiper of any of those religions. Yeah, I said it. Because first off, Christ consciousness won't let you pick up a pew pew and go unalive your fellow man. Christ consciousness won't allow you to enslave your brothers and sisters and knowing that they're going hungry every night while you're hoarding massive amounts of wealth at their expense. It won't do that. Christ consciousness absolutely will not allow that. So the people that can still do those things, that are out fighting all these wars and hurting each other and this and that and fighting over who believe what and which sect over here and this piece of land and whatever they're out there shooting each other and unaliving each other for. If they can say they got Christ in them, they're lying. The truth ain't in them. Yeshua told them, I'll say I never knew you and spew you out. It's within. Now, let me see. The next one I wanted to look at is Stand Up, which is 31. One of the fastest ways to raise our emotional state and vibration is the daily practice of gratitude, since we have something to be thankful for. That's not the one. I'm reading the wrong thing. Steadfast vision. Yeah. Yeshua, through his ministry, had frequent occasions when he directly challenged the status quo and rulings of the day. He did so when he felt they were unjust and outdated, knowing that new times required new ways. He was not apathetic or timid. He spoke out in radical ways, triggering, although not his intention, those who refused to listen or entertain his teaching. Right now, you may be feeling compelled to stand up for an injustice or cause that you hold dear. You may struggle to see the oppression, inequality, and poverty in our world and think, what can I do? Yet we are all more powerful than we imagine, and when we lend our voice, presence, and support to something worthwhile, we help many. Often, we wait for someone else to make the first move, but even if no one else joins you, it builds your sense of who and what you are, impacting your legacy left for future generations. Think about what troubles you. It may be environmental, political, social, or something that you have experienced firsthand. You may have been shunned, misunderstood, vilified, or judged for something you hold true. It takes bravery to speak up and be seen, but like Yeshua, it can create waves that can lead to extraordinary change if we're brave enough to stand up. And it says, you're here to help make a difference, to be an advocate for light, and to not be afraid, knowing you're protected and held as you endeavor to make a positive difference. This card is also a nod to unity and coming together around a centralized point, be that peace, remembrance, freedom, or something else. Solidarity, steadfastness, and being together as one holds the promise Yeshua taught of, where two or more are gathered in my name, miracles can happen. So, yeah. And then last but not least, we have holy anger. This is the one that started it all for me. Because like I said, I literally heard the title of this. I had forgotten that the subtext was be the change, but I just really woke up today with this card on my mind. So I wanted to close this today with this card. Be the change. To care deeply and passionately for a cause, this planet and its people is to sometimes become disillusioned, disappointed, and full of rage at what we see happening around us. Injustice, greed, inequality, poverty, destruction, and abuse are hard to witness or experience during our time on Mother Earth. It is easy to get frustrated, however. As human beings, we need to master how and what we do with our anger and to channel it correctly to help create a better world rather than to seek vengeance or to harm another. In Yeshua, we have a template to follow, since he himself had moments of fiercely calling out what he saw as wrong. The hypocrites of his day, including the spiritual teachers who did not practice what they preached, and the money changers' tables that he overturned in the temple, calling it a den of thieves. However, he never used violence or aggression and never stooped to a lower energy. Rather, as he showed elsewhere, we are taught to turn the other cheek, meaning to not retaliate like for like, not to meet anger with anger, but to go higher, take it to God, turn a new page, and begin again, responding with our hearts, not our fists. He showed us how to transmute and redirect our feelings of hopelessness into ones of re-education, communication, and demonstrating a higher way. To walk the talk, for example, to re-sanctify the temple, to steer people back to their hearts and away from those who seek to debase or are cruel in other ways. The card chosen by you today shows a mighty tree cut down to make way for humans' constant need for more. This mighty oak may have stood for hundreds of years, gifting us all breath and having watched generations come and go, yet in one fell swoop, it is destroyed for profit and more. How do we respond? Do we cry and rage and bang our fists? Or do we get up and go and plant another 2 trees for future generations? Do we teach our children why trees are needed, the importance of nature and her place and right to coexist beside us? The stimulus to do this additional good stemming from an opposite trigger, which created a choice point moment as to how we could react, and we chose higher, not lower. You are reminded today that for whatever irks, annoys, or saddens you now, Apathy is not the answer, nor is further rage, which can blind and incapacitate, preventing you from responding at all or responding without composure or reason. Within you, instead, is the ever bright flame of renewal, restoration, and a reflex to do the right thing. This may necessitate you counting to 10, breathing deeply, walking away before coming back more settled to renegotiate, and more. You may also be being asked to be the better person to someone else who does not know how. Maybe they've never been taught, have never had a role model, or have never been questioned or held accountable. To walk in the light is to never lose hope to realign to a spiritual response. Wait a minute. To walk in the light is to never lose hope to realign to a spiritual response rather than remaining in a primary physiological one stemming from how anger manifests in the body. To learn to temper our anger so that it can do good, creating motivation and impetus to help birth new ways. This is not easy. It takes practice and can be misunderstood, but is the way out of escalation and further fighting within yourself or another, and is the pathway ultimately to peace. Use what arises wisely and currently to create the change you seek. So, I think that is important to us as we look at the idea of, like I said, we're turning off the worship gene, but we're also in this revolution that's not going to be televised. And there's a whole lot that, like I said, we look around us. Ain't nobody saying that there's not some real ish going on here that we should be righteously indignant about. But how we respond to it ultimately does affect how we equip ourselves or how successful we can be in actually bringing those changes in. If we keep focusing on the bad and allowing our anger to take over, all we're going to do is keep recycling the bad. But in learning to transmute that anger into something positive, like I said, in that holy anger, make it into something beneficial, we become the creators of new earth. We be that change that we want to see. That's all I have for you today. I'm going to get into the emerald tablets here in just a little bit as well, and they will probably be uploading together. I that was enough of a reading. I don't even think we need to go further into the cards necessarily today. There is a more comprehensive reading I've been trying to get to, but I just got started on this a little bit late today because, like I said, I was stuck up in my dome. I apologize for that, but we will get to it. But in any event, family, I love you so very much. Thank you for joining me today. And until next time, peace and blessings to you. Namaste.